Welcome to this week's episode of the Top Podcast. I'm your host, Rob, and join with me are my friends Mike.
Hello.
And Lou.
Como te llamas, my brothers and sisters?
Como te llama? Isn't that...
Como te llama?
Como te llamas is my name is?
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought that was about the name.
Good.
Funny thing is, I didn't even catch that until you said it. And I know exactly what that means. I was just like, oh yeah.
Me llamo
That's
Rob.
Spanish.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, guys, we have some breaking world news. A wave of toppers has moved from Belgium and traveled across continent to the country of Singapore, which is now the hub for toppers outside the United States of America. Congratulations, Singapore. You did it.
Good job,
All right,
guys.
Singapore. I see you.
Good job.
I see you.
You know, I really love the fact that they make man-made waterfalls. I love that they're the world's first night zoo. These are some of just the fun facts that I love for Singapore that I know offhand.
I know.
Reading.
I knew as soon as I saw that you, Lou, would appreciate that Singapore has taken such a kind-heartedness approach in accepting us, the toppers, as their number one top podcast. Don't look it up, though.
Shout out to you guys. Number one
I'm
podcast.
pretty sure we are their number one top podcast.
We are the top podcast.
I'd be really upset. Yeah, I'd be really upset if there was a different top podcast that was doing better in Singapore.
We might have some beef. International beef.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oof.
Ooh, that's true.
Wagyu
And
beef.
speaking of international beef, don't give up, Belgium. Spread the word.
It's true.
You can get back in the driver's seat.
Yep. Spread the word. We'll get you there. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a very close race. It's very obtainable for you. So go get them, Belgium. Singapore, you keep on listening strong. So each week we like to do an icebreaker. Feel free to comment on any of our socials or the YouTube video if you're listening on YouTube. If we use your comment or if we use your question, you'll get a plus 5 points in the Top Toppers contest. Right now, Cantwell is still in the lead, but we're getting more and more contestants every day. So feel free to leave a comment and let us know what questions you have for us. Mike, I know you had a question for us, so what is that?
Do you think there is a better one-hit wonder out there than Aha's classic hit, Take On Me?
Do you have an answer to that?
I do have an answer. It is no. I'm open to having my mind changed, but I suspect it is the one-hit wonder that would take the crown from me.
Are you saying just your personal like for the song or popularity of the song?
I think the format of the show wherein we all kind of answer the question as it pertains to us is part of what makes it fun, because I think you could approach it multiple ways. For me, I love the song. I think it's a ton of fun.
Slow version's better.
I agree. But I think they're also doing different things. Like at the end of the day, I'd rather have a hammer than
Play-Doh.
Oh, yeah. Than a very niche, or than it's like, okay, yeah, a hammer and a toothbrush are both fantastic things, but I'm not going to accomplish what I want to have accomplished with my toothbrush if all I have is a hammer. You won't have cavities if you use a hammer. Okay, yeah, you got something there, I suppose. But at the same time, it's like the slow version may even be better, but it's not going to accomplish for you what you might want the fast one to accomplish. And I don't think it is anywhere as near a big hit. And so that's the next component. Is one, I think it's a great song. Two, it was a massive hit that has spanned decades, right? So in terms of popularity, it's got a pretty strong argument. And it's had multiple lives. Like, it was big in the 80s. And then, there was the whole shoulder dance turnaround meme thing. I'm on the internet. I know things. And, it got this whole second wave. So it's like, it's a multi-generational hit now at this point.
I think I got one to top you. It was written in 1969. It was written in 15 minutes. The person's just like, I want to write a gospel song. So Norman Greenbaum decided to write Spirit in the Sky and has been living off royalties ever since. And he said that himself. He's been living off royalties of Spirit in the Sky. And that is a huge song. And even if you don't know the name, you know the guitar riff, the opening guitar riff. It's like in every 60s, 70s movies. You hear, and you got a friend in Jesus. And it's funny because he's Jewish. So.
Oh my God. Look at that.
If you ever want to hear a fun rant, you should ask Rob's mother-in-law about the theology presented in Spirit in the Sky.
I have one that beats both you guys personally. The Cupid Shuffle.
The Cupid Shuffle?
Or the Cha-Cha Slide. Either would be.
Don't steal my thunder, Robert. I appreciate it. But do you even know the singer? Do you know the singer of the Cupid Shuffle? Who sings the song?
I do not. His
name is Cupid.
I was going to say, I thought it was Cupid.
There you go.
No, Cupid.
Ah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, it's at all the weddings, all the dances. I think it's a more popular song than both of those two because it mixes generations and different ethnic groups. I wouldn't be surprised if they'd be listening to this in Singapore. Let's just be honest here.
Is it really a hit or is it just a good wedding song? It's true. Like, it's very niche.
Like, I wouldn't listen to the Cha-Cha Slide like when I'm out working, but you throw that on at like the roller rink or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it's got a very, it's like, this is for dancing. And that's it. Like, I've heard Take On Me at a house party before. I've heard it on the radio. I've heard it in a Kroger. I've never heard the Cupid Shuffle at a house party.
I don't know. His second song, Flex, has 8.9 million views on YouTube. So
does it?
Yeah, I don't know what
I was
it is.
Okay, I was looking through that and I didn't see that part.
We'll leave it up to the toppers. Let's let's hear.
Can I get one more in comments and just one?
Okay, Rob wants his real answer.
All right,
let's hear it.
Well, no, my real one was Spirit in the Sky because the next hit is his next song's under 1 million views. But anyways, the other one's kind of a two-parter, so I'm not gonna know. But it is definitely Smash Mouth with All Star, and then I'm a Believer. Just Shrek made those songs huge, and they've never made anything else. So that's my 2-hit wonder. But it's one movie, bam, one hit. And it's a meme.
All right, I feel you. I feel you on that. It's and also Believer's a cover, so it doesn't even count.
Okay, there we go. That's a one-hit wonder works with All Star. Mike, why don't you tell us what we're talking about this week?
So this week we are talking about what 5 YouTube channels we would save if all the rest of them were getting wiped away.
This is your topic. Do you want to kick off?
So I'm in a weird spot. I'm just going to address it right up front, where I have way more to say about my number 5 than about anything else on my list by a pretty large margin. It's just a balance of what the channel has meant to me versus the content. And so the content of the channel is not necessarily my favorite, but I couldn't in good conscience not save this channel, both for my own sake and because of how much I care about the channel. That is a YouTube channel called Scott's Thoughts. I found this channel when Joe was less than a year old, which was possibly the worst time in my life. I was working the warehouse job that Rob and I have discussed previously on the podcast. And while I didn't mind the job so much when I was still working the warehouse, like the moving parts element, it was exhausting, just incredibly physically strenuous. I'd be getting up at 5 a.m. to write, and I had convinced myself it was the only thing keeping me sane. I'm not sure anymore whether or not that was true, but it was an outlet. And so I was getting up at 5. I'd write. I'd go to work. I'd move car jacks for 8 hours. I'd come home a couple nights a week and have just enough time to swap off with Mackenzie, and then Mackenzie would go work her shift. The trouble was Joe wouldn't sleep for me at all. She'd get tired, she'd start crying, and basically from 7:30 on, she would scream, unconsolable, until Mackenzie came home. I already was underslept and exhausted from the physical strain of the day, and then I was trying to come into this place where I knew I was going to have to sit here and watch my child scream for 3 hours and not be able to do anything about it, as she screamed so much that she would break out in hives. And I've just, like, it was a point where I've never felt more helpless. And I don't want to say worthless, but like it was just like the negative feeling of not being able to help. You know, like I felt helpless in myself, and then I didn't feel helpful on top of that. And then just 3 hours of baby crying, it just started, it went from anxiety and stress to just like, I think it might be a smidge dramatic to say I was getting suicidal, but like it was creeping around the edge there for a little bit. Like I'd be sitting there trying to get this child to sleep, and I'd start fantasizing about just walking out to US 12 and laying down in the middle of the street. Just like, I just need this to be over. I can't do this anymore. And it got to the point where like my only option was to put in headphones and be like, look, you're in your bed, you're safe. I just need to drown this out for my own sanity. I'll sit here and watch you and make sure you're not going to die, but like I can't hear this anymore because I can't keep doing this. And so I was just scrolling through YouTube to find long form content that would distract me long enough to like be able to breathe for a little bit. And I find this video, and it's the thumbnail is Venusaur, Blastoise, Charizard with a big versus. It's which Gen 1 starter is fastest in a solo challenge of Pokemon Yellow. Not exactly an elegant title, but it really got the point across. And this guy had an hour and 37-minute, 45-second video where he spliced footage together of him doing solo runs with the starters of Pokemon Yellow to determine which one was the fastest, who was the best to do a solo run based on in-game time, real time, because he played on an emulator at like ×4 speed. So how long it took in real life, how long it took in game time, how many resets you had, because every time you'd white out or black out, you had to restart, and then what your final level was. And he used those metrics to basically start making a tier list of every single Pokemon in Gen 1. And there's lots of YouTubers out there with more dramatically soothing voices. Like he's not Morgan Freeman, or honorable mention to King K. I don't know if you like video game retrospectives.
King K.
King K is great, man. That dude has just he has a velvet voice. Scott doesn't have that, but it's just calm. Like he's very calm, neutral toned, and it was just so soothing that it really got me through what was up until that point absolutely tearing me to pieces. And he's into Gen 4 now. He's still doing runs throughout the first 4 generations of games. So he does Yellow, Crystal, Emerald, and now Platinum. And I tell you, I got about 5 minutes every night. Like he puts out a new video, I turn it on, and I'm having the best sleep of my life 5 minutes in. And it's not that his content isn't interesting, especially if you're into that. It's just that like at this point, I've just like Scott talking about which Pokemon is fastest on its own. It's like Xanax. I find a place of peace, and then I can fall asleep. And so I have just an endless appreciation for what his channel has done for me personally. And also I like keeping up. Like I'll go back and rewatch the video and keep up with the tier list and see, who he's got rated where. And, it's kind of fun and interesting. If you're really into that niche area of Pokemon, definitely worth a watch. And if you just need something that's calm and relaxing and will help you sleep, there's a lot of worse YouTube channels, and the dude he's got to have 100 hours of content easily on there. So, yeah, good channel. Definitely worth your time.
I hope that guy gets to listen to this somehow, because I feel like you showed a lot of love, and it was super thoughtful and super caring. I really appreciated that.
We can we'll tag all the channels we talk about in the description. So go ahead if you guys want to see them. We'll link them down below.
Yeah, I would love nothing more than to be able to talk to the guy, whether digitally or in person, and just thank him for all he's done, because he's just doing his thing. He's just living his life. He gets to play Pokemon for a living, and he talks all the time about how just unbelievably grateful he is that enough people watch his videos that he gets to do this full time, which I totally get. I mean, like, the guy gets to play his favorite video game and talk about his favorite video game all the time, so I'm so glad he gets to do that, and it's been such a blessing for me. So Scott, if you're out there, cheers, man.
And if any of the toppers out there somehow find a way to bring any of our channels onto the pod, we will give you plus 200 topper points. So if you for some reason are related to Scott, you're a third cousin of Scott, tell him, hey, this pod, really gushed about you, and he listens, like, oh, I'll be on the pod. And guess what? Yeah, that's basically, we're gifting you the topper thing. So look in your contacts, break out the Rolodexes and see what you have. Well, Lou, what's your number 5?
So my number 5 is definitely not as emotionally connected as but so when I look at, I feel like I always have to explain my list. I'll stop explaining it after a while, but I come to YouTube, I would like to get your guys' opinion on this, but I come to YouTube for my hobbies or if something breaks. Those are pretty much the only reasons why I come to YouTube anymore. I feel like an old man when it comes to this. I don't try to kind of venture out with different YouTube people, even though I probably should. I feel like I tried to do that with my books and my podcasts, but with YouTube, it's old reliable. So if something breaks, or if my favorite YouTuber is coming up with a new video, is usually what I go for. But there is one that's a little bit different than everybody else. So my number 5 is called ASAP Science. Have you guys ever watched any ASAP Science videos?
Oh,
I have not even heard of it.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, so ASAP Science has...
I just looked through his videos, and one of the thumbnails is why eating ass is dangerous.
Oh, shit, I forgot. But it's true. You should know. If you're going to have sex, if you're going to eat ass, you should know.
Just take a shower beforehand, you know?
There you go. Yes. So, are you going to keep that in the podcast?
That's a Mike thing.
Oh, yes, he is. I'm in charge this week, baby.
Good stuff.
It's after dark all day.
Yeah. So ASAP Science has 10.5 million subscribers and 481 videos. I will just pre-warn you, if I don't know how this is going to be edited, but there is some pretty graphic things on here. But I think with science, if you're going to do something like munch on a butt, you should have the information before you make the decision. So as a kid, I've always loved science. But then as I got older, as I got out of school, I was like, I don't want to learn anything else. I feel like all I've been doing my whole life is trying to learn things and then try to repeat them on paper. And I've never been good at it. And I just hate it. And I don't want it. I don't want to learn. I did it so much where I feel like I forgot how to read. And that was wild. Try reading to some kids and being like, I don't know if I know any of these words. But ASAP, for real, this is a real thing. So ASAP Science kind of brought me back into loving science again. Of course, yes, they do have some pretty vulgar things, but just all the things that anything that you can think of about science, any question that you have for science, they potentially have.
How are babies made?
How are babies made?
Is that on there?
Masturbation good for you? Oh, for sure.
Whoa.
Yes. Birth versus kicked in the balls.
What?
Which
I see.
came first,
Pain.
the chicken and the egg? Will Doritos, caffeine, and marijuana kill you? Your brain on crack cocaine. Can you trust your ears?
Can you trust the government?
I don't think that's science. I think it's more political science. I think it's a little outside of.
Hey, what's in that word?
Also, the answer is no.
Oh, okay.
Science is in that phrase. It's science.
That's true. Cut or uncut? I'll let you guys figure out that one yourself.
Tomatoes, right? You just bite into them or you cut them.
I don't think you've ever eaten a fruit raw. I mean, a vegetable raw. Have you?
Do you consider potatoes a vegetable?
It's more of a starch, buddy. I'm sorry.
But is it a vegetable? Either way, I've had a raw potato. That was disgusting. I've had a cucumber. Those are raw.
That's good. That's good.
Raw broccoli is disgusting.
Question: was the skin cut off the tip of that cucumber?
No, it was a natural cucumber.
Didn't get that one at first.
Circumcision, folks.
Your poop cycle, nuclear war.
Do you follow the Torah or not?
I don't think that's on here. Are your silent farts worse?
That went back to what we were talking about with the cut uncut.
I know. I was trying to ignore it. Not ignore it, but also,
Is part of this going to be cut or uncut? That's up to Mike. We'll see.
That's up to Mike. It's up to Mike to figure out what he wants to let the listeners to hear.
It's a lot of pressure, man.
That is a lot of pressure. Don't make me look bad. The study drug. I'm done. But yes, they have a ton of videos, a ton of good stuff. They've been working on it for a super long time. They care about society, and I just think, and they care about science, and that's awesome.
I'm gonna be honest. That sounds like a great channel. So far, out of all the channels suggested, that is probably the one I'm most likely to look up.
Mine, I feel like just listen to you two. I am underprepared.
Someone's always got to be underprepared for the week.
But I'm all for
it's nice
channels.
That it's not me today.
Yeah, I'm all for channels that promote science and I think the education system gives STEM things a bad rap. It makes it boring and not exciting. And I like it when people present stuff in a way that's digestible and enjoyable, and not just reading out of a textbook where you just want to bash your head against the desk and everything. So
I forgot to say that they draw everything out, and so it's like you're watching your favorite teacher kind of teach a class in a sense, because everything is. For me, I'm a visual learner.
Oh shoot!
And so it just really helps to
I should have put Khan Academy on here. It got me through college.
Khan Academy. That's cool.
If there's any people going through any mathematics or stuff that are listening to this pod and are having trouble, look up Khan Academy. It's a lifesaver. All right, so I talked a little bit about this with Mike when we were just chatting before the pod. But the way I looked at it is I wanted to get channels that I really only watch on YouTube. So I have some podcasts I watch on YouTube, but they're also on different podcasting platforms. So if they were acts from YouTube, I would still have access to them. And a lot of mine also, go with Twitch and all that, stream on Twitch or, So I tried to make it only YouTube or YouTube only channels. Some of that held true, some that didn't. And one thing that made it so difficult for me for this topic is YouTube has changed their platform. So it used to be back in the day when you subscribe to a channel, that'd be the first thing that popped up when you logged into YouTube, right? You guys remember that? Your subscription list would be the top videos you see. Now it's very algorithm based. And when I go on YouTube, I just scroll, find a title that seems interesting, click that and listen to it in the background. So for me, it was kind of hard. I don't follow that many channels anymore. It's only if the algorithm decides I want to watch that channel's video, I'll watch it. Because I went back and looked through my subscription. I'm just I don't remember subscribing to this. And so I'm just going to kind of roll with it. And I tried to pick different topics or different styles too. I don't want 5 video game channels if that's all it's going to be on there. So my first one is they have 6.72 million subscribers. It is a sketch comedy group and is RDC World 1. Okay.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
It's a group of friends. They just get together. They do a lot of they do a lot of sports, especially basketball commentary or skits about it, or they do anime or they have video games and stuff. And some of my favorite. Yes. Some of my favorite. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I've been cutting you off a lot today. Yes. Yeah, I never knew that their actual name. But yes, they do the J. Cole. My favorite is the J. Cole.
Jermaine Cole. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, they're funny guys, and I just love watching them. One of my favorite videos, I think there's 2 of them when I looked up there. They had this small series where it's Popeyes versus Chick-fil-A. So it's how Chick-fil-A trains people. And it's my pleasure. You have to be super nice. And then they switch to how Popeyes trains their fans. And they're what, did you just put his order in there? No, just put a random chicken, put it in the bag and send him away. If he comes and complains, you go and fight him. And it's just it's how I feel about Popeyes. You don't go to Popeyes for customer service. And it's just funny. They have different beefs and they'll pop up in random videos. And I think they're one of the funniest sketch comedy groups that are still making videos out there. And their shorts are hilarious as well. So not only do they have longer ones, but they have, digestible 1 minute, ruin your attention span videos.
My all-time favorite is the guy who pretends he knew how to fight because he watched anime.
Yeah,
it's some of the funniest content, and they've been doing it for years. I feel like they've been out in the game for a minute. But yeah, hilarious. Good pick, Robert.
So my number 4 is a sports channel. Well, it's a football channel. It's a gentleman named Tub Frog. Tub Frog has I have no idea what the origin of that name is. I'd be very interested to find out. But he has 88.8 thousand subscribers, doing all right for himself. He's the reason that when I say Thomas Edward Brady's name, I use his middle name. And he does a weekly recap of each week of football, which while I love the Around the NFL podcast, and I love that the Around the NFL podcast has long, meaty episodes that I can listen to for a long time. It's also nice to get a shorter, just 20-minute digest of the week. And he does a really great job of that. He's got just really good kind of comedic timing and commentary on the league. So he'll tell you what happened, but he'll also make jokes. I love comedic timing, and he's got it. But then on top of that, he also will do these long-form documentary-style videos that really delve into interesting parts of NFL history. One I really enjoyed was the failed acolytes of Peyton Manning, where he went from the day Peyton Manning retired from the Broncos through every single starting quarterback the Broncos had.
Yikes.
Up until Russ. Yeah, it was just examining the train wreck. Or he did the history of how the Lions reversed the curse, and so he went back. I think he went back to right before Matthew Stafford joined. So it wasn't like he went all the way back to Bobby Lane.
2008.
But he went through.
Wondering. 0-16.
Yeah. And so he went through every single season and just examined, kind of the pattern, and just like it was just very interesting to see somebody go through and just look at it, and then he tells the story well, and he's also, again, just a great dry sense of humor where he can be talking about facts and this is what happened and here's statistics and analysis and boom, there's a joke and it just flows. Yeah, I can't get enough of listening to the guy, both as a league historian, documentarian, and then also he does a great recap on the weeks that we have football. If you're a football guy, give Tub Frog a listen.
Was that
you'll definitely have a laugh. That was just me. No, that was me just choking on my own tongue. Yeah, but give him a listen. You'll have a laugh. You'll probably learn some interesting stuff about the league, and it's a great way to just keep up with. Hey, there were 14 to 16 games this week. Let me just get a quick recap on who won, just so I can stay up to date with what's going on.
The name Tub Frog sounds like one of those randomly generated old Xbox Live gamer tag names.
It does.
For real.
Lou, what's your number 4?
My number 4. Now this goes into, now we're going into just my hobbies, which is pretty much video games and cooking. My number 4, with 175 videos and 597,000 followers, is Internet Shaquille. I'm just going to assume that you guys don't know what I'm talking about.
I do not know who Internet Shaquille is.
Unless
O'Neal, started the channel.
Yeah, that would be something. I mean, he is a DJ.
The Irish poet?
No.
Oh,
how old are you?
Sorry.
It's a Bo Burnham joke. There's a line Bo Burnham has in an early special where it's like, in the words of the great Irish poet Shaquille O'Neal. That's just what I think of now when I hear Shaq.
As soon as I get on this podcast, no references to anything can come to my brain. You guys could be quoting the simplest, most common stuff. And
for God so loved the world.
Dude, get out of my head!
You got that one? You know that reference?
All right, back to Internet Shaquille. He is a simple cooking show. I love his bio because I think it makes a lot of sense. It says, I can teach you how to cook. So he pretty much is just teaching. It's a pretty straightforward, easy, just cooking show. But my favorite things about it is that he calls out stupidity, and he's also just super witty. And so my first video I remember watching with him is a video called Daily Harvest Serves No Purpose. So if you look up Daily Harvest, it's a food company that sells you smoothies, but you don't blend this. It's not blended smoothie. It's just honestly just frozen fruit.
They just send you everything, and then you blend it yourself.
Send you everything. And he spends, I don't know, like 10 minutes explaining to you that you're an idiot if you buy this because it's way overpriced, of course, right? It's for rich people. And he's like, and he goes on the website and he's like, listen, and he shows us, it's like, look at this. They give you the ingredients, how much they put of each one. They give you the whole thing. So why would you spend an extra $30 on a smoothie when you can go out to the store and buy this all yourself? I think he's just funny. I think he cares in a sense. He's just super witty and super good. He has a Brussels sprout video. I don't know if you guys ever grew up eating Brussels sprouts, but I always hated Brussels sprouts growing up.
My wife has tried to make me eat Brussels sprouts.
Same.
Yeah, I forgot you guys are kind of picky eaters, right?
Mike, I think isn't.
I can get down with Brussels sprouts now. I have worked with immense intentionality to get over being a picky eater, and I am still getting there. But if you put enough oil, salt, pepper, butter, bacon, I can palate a Brussels sprout.
She has like this. My wife has like this Motown seasoning. If she drowns enough in that and fries it up, it's not bad. It's not my favorite, but
dude, Motown seasoning.
What is Motown seasoning?
Don't know. Paul likes
it. It is a holiday market original, for lack of a better term. Like you have to go to Holiday Market to get it. It's specifically a steak seasoning.
Okay.
But you can throw that junk on all sorts of things. I'll put that in my eggs. Like you can put it on anything. It's so good.
I just got into oh no, I'm striking out. Oh, I don't remember. But it's like a guy from Kentucky and he has his own seasoning and it's really, really good.
Colonel Sanders?
13 herbs and spices,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I can't find what's in the actual Motown.
Honestly, it's not too crazy far removed from a Cajun seasoning, but it definitely is not pure Cajun seasoning. It's got a much darker, kind of richer vibe to it. That's the best way I can describe it. I know, like, I've had Cajun shrimp Alfredo before. We used Motown on the shrimp, and they fit right in with the Cajun Alfredo. So,
is that the Cajun Alfredo you made for me when me and my wife came over one time?
No, actually, Paul is the one. I just use Cajun in my Cajun Alfredo, but Paul uses the Motown. And honestly, I probably would use the Motown, but I know there's MSG in it, and Mackenzie's allergic to MSG, so I basically only use it if I'm the only one eating.
Rip.
Dano's is actually the company I was thinking of. Their seasoning's pretty good too.
Okay.
But yeah, number 4, Inner Shaquille. Give it a try. I think he's witty. He's funny. He's a good time.
Can you tell me what the best pizza oven recipe that isn't a pizza is?
I don't understand what you're.
I'm looking at his channel right now. That's the top video, and I'm just
That's
like,
what I thought. Yeah.
I'm intrigued. I'm just curious, though.
Yeah, I think he'd be right up your alley.
Yeah, no, I've been looking through what he's got. Lou, you're 2 for 2, man.
I appreciate it.
I'm 0 for 1.
Off. Honestly, don't remember what you're.
Wow. I see.
He said anime, and I tuned that out.
Yes. No, I liked your 1. I liked your number 5.
I was saying for Mike though. I don't know if it's up Mike's alley.
Oh, yeah, because there's young black teens. You know how old people feel about that.
So my number 4 is very much in the same vein as Mike's, and That's Good Sports. It has 517K subs. And it's mostly a football channel, though the guy's from Colorado, and he'll talk about all Colorado sports. And it's just like my mix of unhinged and semi-raunchy humor, and he just makes really interesting videos. Like, same thing with Mike. Probably my favorite video, and I'm biased, and it's a more recent one, is how Dan Campbell brought the Lions back from the dead. Very much like what Mike was saying, where he like evaluates how this current coach brought the Detroit Lions, which are historically the worst professional sports team of all time, how he brought them back to like being relevant. And then he also has a video showing how the Lions are the most cursed franchise and how like the refs are actively out to get them, or that's what it seems like, how they have the worst calls against them. And he just does really funny videos. He does like weekly recaps or like highlights and all that. And each week he does this power ranking, and he has this curse wheel. And the curse wheel, he spins it, and it's whatever top 10 team it lands on is cursed. And that curse wheel, I swear, got like 14 weeks right. Like whatever it landed on, that team lost. So crazy. And it's funny because like some of my other buddies also found him just like organically. We didn't know, and we started talking about like I was watching this channel and the curse wheel fell on the Lions, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you watched That's Good Sports too?" And it's just fun. And one thing I like about him is he does a podcast with another big NFL YouTuber called Tom Grassi, who's an honorable mention in my list.
Packer Nation.
Yep. And that's the main thing keeping him off my list, is that he's a Packers fan. But no, he's definitely the most tolerable Packers fan there. But every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he does something with Tom Grassi. So then, even though Tom Grassi got nixed, I can still, listen to him, and it's funny. And I know he does, Mike, I think you like Urinating Tree. They also, I think, not as frequently, but they also do a podcast together. So, yeah. So if you like unhinged madness, go watch That's Good Sports with Brandon Perna. Mike, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is a gentleman named Scott Kramer. He is a commentary YouTuber. He's in the vein of like a Drew Gooden. He's one of the bigger names in the commentary YouTuber space. But Scott's definitely my favorite. He's rocking 845,000 subscribers, so he's closing in on the 1 million mark. He's doing just fine. And Scott's just, man, he's just a dude. He talks about topics I would never in a million years have thought to talk about, but that always kind of pique my interest. And then he does it in a way that's just fun. And I like YouTubers where I feel like I'm just kind of hanging out, like that vibe where it's like I'm just part of this. A couple highlights for me. He got on this ranking kick, but instead of like ranking popular things, he was like, I'm going to rank all the brands of toilet paper. And we're going to rank them on strength, how many feet per roll, absorbency, and how well you can TP a house with it.
You could do that with frozen pizzas, Lou.
Yeah, I mean, if the audience wants it, I have no problem donating my body to science.
He did a video talking about he just jumped to his favorite one. It was a shorter video. And I have a sneaking suspicion that him and his wife were indulging in certain herbs and spices along the way, if you will. But they were just
the devil's lettuce.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were high. But they were like they were talking about why on to Mary Jane.
Spider-Man.
I'm more of a Gwen Stacy fan myself, but I get you.
Oh,
I am too. And
I actually don't have an opinion. I just wanted to make a joke.
But like they were just talking about why this was their favorite frozen pizza. He also talked about his preference in style of pizza cutter. Like that was one of the tips. Was I was like, that's such a bizarre tangent, even when you're already talking about pizzas. And just the way he did it, I was like, I think they're high. Well, they're filming right now, and they were like, we should film a video about this. Just a theory, a YouTube theory, but
Rip Matt Pat.
Other right. I didn't watch him all that much, but I always enjoyed him when I did. Mm-hmm. He did 100 days of playing Wii Fit every single day. There was one where I rewatched this one today where he just went through the comments section of like 50s and 60s music. So he was going through like Elvis, Buddy Holly, Sinatra, the group that did Sandman, Mr. Sandman, that one, and just like looked at the comments about like how many old people are just in those YouTube comments just raging against modern music. And then he ends the video off where he samples like a really old school beat, then puts a hip hop beat over it, and he sings a love song where he's standing next to himself on a green screen. And in one, he's all done up like Sinatra, and the other one, he's all done up like he's a hip hop artist. And he like weaves back and forth between the hyper appropriate kind of stiff lyrics of like an old timey love song into much more raunchy lyrics of like a modern hip hop song, but like the song flows fairly well.
Push the stereotype. You're the reason why rap isn't played in Christian homes, Mike.
Hey man. I didn't make the song. I didn't make the stereotype. I don't play rap in my home, but that's a whole separate thing. It has nothing to do with the content.
Unless you're listening to The Office, then you got a little bit of rap in there.
The Dundies! Dude, watching Lucian watch season 2, episode 1 of The Office was such a good experience for me. Like, I loved every time you laughed super hard. It just made one of my favorite things. It like reaffirmed it for me. It was great.
You didn't show him the cultural awareness episode in season 1?
He said he'd already seen season 1. I will say Diversity Day is one of the funnier episodes in season 1. If you can handle it's cringy, but it's got some good jokes. So like he's just kind of all over the place. He's got a series where he watches the first episode of a show, and then he brings on another YouTuber who's into the show, and he tries to predict the show, and then they tell him how the show actually ends. Just weird, random stuff, but he's got the personality and the sense of humor for it. And I always find the topic vaguely interesting, and then he just captures me with his presentation. And yeah, Scott Kramer, the second Scott of my list, one of 3. I had to cut a third Scott to make room for less video games.
I like how the first video when you search right now when I searched his name was watching the Titanic sink in VR.
Yeah, dude, that was a fun video. I really enjoyed it.
Lou, what's your number 3?
So my number 3, with 13.2 million subscribers, with over 1,000 videos, First We Feast. Big fan.
It's a good one.
Yep, huge fan. I've been a Hot Ones fan for a super long time. I feel like I watched maybe the second episode of Hot Ones when it first came out. And so I've been a fan of Hot Ones for a super long time. I know you have a singer, Robert, that you're a really big fan of. And now he doesn't sing anymore. Yes, that's who it is.
Did he do a Hot Ones episode?
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying I enjoy the fact that I knew Hot Ones before Hot Ones really popped off.
I get you. I'm like, how did I miss this? I have Google alerts to it. No, I'm joking.
It would be super cool to have hipster cred on Hot Ones.
It's true. Yeah. I saw a comment. It's like, you made it when you've made it onto Hot Ones. Like, that's the new standard.
No, I 100% agree. I don't ever want to be on a late night show, but like, if I ever do anything entertaining enough to be on an interview show, it's got to be Hot Ones.
We'll give you plus 300 if you can get us on Hot Ones.
I will you if you give me that hot one.
Watch out, Mike's
Let's just be honest
editing.
here.
Mike's editing this week. You don't know what he'll keep in there.
Oh, that's true.
I know exactly what he'll. I think we can all say with confidence what he will keep in there.
Oh boy. You have to ask my wife first. I had to get my wife's permission before I do anything like that. But yes,
If
first
my
we
wife
feast.
says yes, I will be on Hot Ones.
Yeah. So if you don't know Hot Ones, if you've been living under a rock, it's a chicken eating show. Hot sauces
Or cauliflower if you're vegetarian.
with cauliflower or fake chicken. I've seen fake chicken. I've seen cauliflower. Rachel Ray, she just put it on a spoon.
Ooh.
And she just like raw dogged hot sauces for like an hour straight. Shout out to Rachel Ray.
I don't know if we like Rachel Ray.
You don't know if we like Rachel Ray?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there was a controversy around her.
Oh, is there?
Go ahead. You can keep on talking.
Oh no. Well, I'm interested now.
Let us know in the comments below. Should we hate Rachel Ray? I don't need to form my own opinion. Just inform me.
Let's go back to my notes. Yes.
I guess she's just a mean person. Doesn't always pay their staff on time. Okay.
Ah,
I know
tough.
there was one of them that was like racist behind the thing. I don't remember which one that was.
I mean,
one of those
once
ladies.
you get to a certain money, who's not racist? Who's not a rich racist? Let's be honest here. Name one non-rich racist. You
I
can't.
can name a non-rich racist. I assume the guy who stands on the corner on the way to your drive to work. You mean a rich non-racist?
You don't know his money. What his money's like. He's working.
No, but
during-
I feel like I'd bet money on that. I'd be confident in that gamble.
I'll say Dr. Dre. He signed Eminem,
Dre?
not racist. Certified.
Ooh,
not
I don't know.
I
I
was
don't know.
gonna go with Morgan Freeman or maybe Denzel.
Both of those are good. Good choice.
Denzel did have a nice little interview about culture versus race, but who knows? Who knows in the heart? Let's go back to First We Feast, huh?
Noted racist Rachel Ray.
Allegedly, we don't know.
No,
No,
no.
she's not.
Just literally just a little tidbit. She just raw dog spices. That's all I wanted to say.
Rachel Ray likes raw dog in it. You heard it here first.
Oh, hot sauces. Sean Evans, I think, has grown. I've seen Sean Evans grow as an interviewer, and it is so fun to see him ask questions. The way that he's built the show around, they'll start off with something simple like their career, but then as like the bomb is destroying your whole mind, he'll be like, hey, so back in 2008, you cried over a Lizzie McGuire episode about racism. Can you explain on that? and you had to just watch these people just try to get out the most thoughtful answer without, and also be burnt, their whole mouth burnt to crap. So I think it's really good.
Did you see the most recent Bryan Cranston one?
I did.
No, I actually did not.
But dude is so elegant under so much like you can tell it's just melting his face. He's just speaking with just such high presence. Like I was blown away by Cranston on there. He really kept it together.
Who is it? Paul Rudd. That's like, wow, we did it. Was that Paul Rudd?
Yes. Classic. Yeah, or Steve-O when he put the hot sauce in his eye.
I did not see that one.
Super insane. Flea did a really good job. Flea's an animal. I didn't notice how, but he's like a genius though. He's
Talking
like
about,
really good. with
Red Hot
music.
Chili Peppers flea.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
that
Have you seen
man's-
that one?
I've seen more of that man than I want to.
Yeah, when he put the socks on the cocks.
No, it just Woodstock, whatever I think it was Woodstock, was it 99 or 98? The crazy one where like a riot basically broke out. He went out on stage naked, and I was watching a documentary, and you saw all of them.
Damn.
Oh,
Shout out to Flea. But yeah, he's
he
like
didn't even
a
have
genius
sock on.
trumpet player.
Also, he's in Back to the Future. Sorry, Flea is a trumpet player.
Oh, I didn't know Flea was in Back to the first one.
No, it was in 2 and 3. He's Needles.
Ah,
What?
Yeah,
dude, you
knowledge
are right.
bomb.
Boom.
Whoa.
Or like I wouldn't have known Cardi B is into history. She likes
I
like
wouldn't know that either.
she loves the Civil War and like President
Hey, Cardi B.
FDR. Just like some of these people who I don't know, some of these celebrities, they just really be back into being a human, and I think it's just super fun to see. Yeah, some of my favorite ones are Dave Grohl, the lead singer of the Foo Fighters. He like is drinking during the
Yeah.
he's
like busting out shots and passing them around, right?
yeah. He gets Sean Evans. I think Sean Evans gets tipsy by the end of the interview. mixed with like the super hot spices. I think they're crossfaded at this point. If you don't know what crossfaded is,
Ask your mom.
Urban Dictionary. Oh.
Urban Dictionary. Shia LaBeouf is a really good one. I'm a big Shia LaBeouf fan. He's done some pretty heinous things, but I think he's learned his. I don't know, made up for it. May not be like the most sensitive way to say it.
I think he's grown, or it appears he's grown.
Yeah, he's appears in different interviews. I feel like he's grown a lot. And then Trick Daddy. If you don't know Trick Daddy, he's a pretty famous rapper in the South.
I know Trick, but not Trick Daddy.
I also picked First We Feast because they have different channels. And so my second favorite channel is this thing called Burger Scholar by George Motz.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not, but he's super passionate about cheeseburgers.
Who isn't?
I mean, like he's a nerd when it comes to cheeseburgers. Like, yes, I also do love a good cheeseburger. But he does like the full history of it. Like he refuses to put ketchup on a burger because he's like such a purist. He does like a lot of regional stuff, which is super awesome. He did a ramen burger, which I think is like super funny. And then he does like.
He did a ramen burger, but he won't put ketchup on a burger.
I think because like was popular in Japan, and so
it's not pure though. It's not pure. Ketchup's popular in America, and he's not putting ketchup on his burger. Hypocrite.
Wow. I didn't know you guys would be so hard on ketchup.
I was all about this guy until you said he doesn't put ketchup.
Pro ketchup.
Yeah, I was all about looking him up, but now you said he doesn't put ketchup on his burger. Screw him.
I'm not hard on ketchup. I got hard on for ketchup.
Amen.
I mean, you guys fight your fights, guys, but he does a really good job. He has his own restaurant, his burger shop, and I hope to be able to go to New York one time and try it out.
Do you have to bring your own ketchup?
You know, I assume because he's such a cool guy that he lets you choose to put ketchup on the burger if you choose to. But that's just, I don't think he's a pure asshole when it comes to not putting ketchup on your burger.
Not one of those guys.
I don't think he's one of those guys.
But Mike, are you Heinz or Hunt's?
Who the hell is Hunt's?
Hunt's is like the second place ketchup, and it's not as good.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah.
I am not actively Hunt's. I'm not actively Heinz either, but I'd probably end up just grabbing Heinz out of habit, more than out of like any kind of real brand loyalty. Yeah,
I will say sriracha and ketchup.
Oh yeah,
beautiful, super.
Also
good.
Mayo, sriracha mayo,
and ketchup. Mayo. I'm sure that would be good.
Yeah,
tasty.
All three
because they both taste good combined. So if you combine all three, we'll test it out. We'll have.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'd make a great spicy burger crust because like ketchup and mayo are good together, and if they're all good, if all of them are good at 2, they're bound to be good as 3.
Top podcast spread right there. We're copywriting it. None of you little toppers try to take it from us. When we open a top podcast restaurant, that's gonna be our staple.
Okay, but I think if we open a top pod restaurant, it has to be a tapas restaurant.
Tapas.
That's pretty good. You know what tapas is, Robert?
I've heard of it.
I don't. I just know what branding is, and I'm like, the Top Pod Tapas restaurant is a no-brainer to me.
This is a little side note, but I was watching this comedian, and he only had like 2 minutes on stage, and the first thing he did was like completely diss the crowd, and was just like, you guys are super ugly, and then nobody laughed at any of his jokes. And it's true. When Robert was like, "You little toppers," I was like, "Let's not be mean to our audience here."
Counter argument.
Okay,
Bill Burr once just totally cussed out an entire Philadelphia crowd.
Yes, Philly. It's hilarious.
Cheered him, and they like he literally just shoot him out for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's like 12 minutes.
And got
or
a
something.
standing O.
Well, they like that. I mean, that's what they do.
That's true. They're masochists.
Yeah, for sure.
So my number 3, I don't know it's gonna have much to talk about, and I know Lou's I already know what he might say about it, but is Mike Winger. He has 684K, and he's like basically just a YouTube pastor. So yes, Lou, I did have my Good Christian channel here, but I've been trying to get more deep into my faith and like the theology and the gritty stuff, and he does a great job of taking like the hard topics or like the deep theological topics and explaining them like what the Bible actually says in a way that's easy to digest and like easy to understand. And that's sometimes you listen to these people that they're so knowledgeable, or they appear so, because they use these big drawn out words. You're just like, I don't know what they could be speaking a different language, and I wouldn't know. But he does a very good job of, like I said, taking the topics and explaining them, and then giving actual, like, looking at the Bible verses and giving biblical answers to them. So one of my ones, I don't know if I have a favorite, because it's not really a topic where I'm like, I don't know. But one that I enjoyed was he did a video on what the Bible really says about alcohol. And it was great because he starts it out like, hey, I don't drink, and that's me. And like, if you're on the camp that like says drinking alcohol is a sin, you're not going to like what I have to say. If you're in the camp that thinks you can just go get wasted, you're not going to like what I have to say. And so he puts like his own traditions aside, and like, what does the Bible actually say? And along with that, each week he does like a 10 questions Q&A. So people will write in whatever questions and he'll answer them. So I just think it's a very good wealth of knowledge. And there's actually, I found out from Paul's uncle, who I have a lot of respect for, but I want that. And I feel like if it was taken away, my depth of faith would kind of go down if I didn't. Because that's one thing I'm trying to do this year, is just kind of get deeper and kind of the more nitty grittiness of Christianity and theology and all that. So I think that just wouldn't be as good for me if that channel was gone. So yeah.
What did you think I was going to say about your?
Oh, that is just the goody two shoes Christian boy pick. 'Cause I think I don't remember what I said. There's some like Christian thing I put on there, and you're like, oh, it's the Christian pick.
Oh, I'm sorry if I.
No, I don't. It's a joke. I don't care.
Okay. Yeah. No, I wouldn't shit on you for saying that you want to go deeper in your faith. I feel like that'd be a shitty friend thing to do here.
No, just the joke. Like, oh, of course he picked a Christian channel, trying to look, more Christianly on the podcast. No, it's like I was just, I was pulling a rabbit from 8 Mile, just telling you your joke before you even told me.
I was, thinking like, oh, this Christian guy, he probably only has missionary sex, that kind of thing. That's the best I could do, though.
I can't, I can't say I've seen that one on the channel. Maybe I'll do a Q&A. I'll write him the question and see what his opinion is on that.
Yeah, so this reminds me of when my commute to school was about 30 minutes long. It was quite a bit of time in high school, and it reminds me of when me and my dad would listen to Joyce Myers, and I could tell once I got into school how much more, I guess, aligned, just better I felt. The hot Cheeto loud girls didn't bother me as much.
I just think also, no matter the podcast, I don't think is a good medium for me to tell you, like, to be preaching or tell you what to believe. But I just think whatever you believe, it is good to kind of figure out why you believe it and try to have more than just, that's what my parents believed, or try to have something to back it up. So that's one thing with me, is I'm really just trying to get that for Christianity and what I believe in. So I encourage anyone, whatever your religion or personal beliefs is, it's always good to, do some research.
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard it. At some point, though, I came across the concept that if you aren't willing to hear and consider the challenges to your beliefs, you don't really believe the thing you claim to believe. And that was a big one for me. There's nothing I enjoy more than just, comparing viewpoints and seeing how things hold up. I'm a big fan of spending my time that way.
And not just Christians, but I feel like Christians do this quite often. When you do ask a question that might be deeper than the general question, they get so defensive.
I think so. For me, I noticed looking back on when I was early college age, people would ask me questions and I'd get really defensive. It wouldn't even be like theological questions. They would just ask me a question I didn't know the answer to, and it would make me insecure because I did fairly well in high school without having to try very hard. The big trouble with that is that you then don't learn how to study, and then your like natural talent really falls off once you hit college. And so, but I had put a certain amount of like my self-esteem into just being naturally smart. And so whenever I was asked a question I didn't know the answer to, I got kind of aggressively defensive about it. because it kind of undermined that thing that I had built my identity on, and it made it just like, it's this is all pop psychology. You can fill in the gaps there, but I think it's probably the same thing for a lot of Christians. Is if they don't have the answers to some of these harder questions, they haven't pursued the answers to some of these harder questions, and so when you ask them these questions, you have this thing that they've built their identity around without fully understanding, and it feels like you're kind of undermining this critical part of who they are. And they don't understand that it's like, these are good questions to ask. This is an opportunity to learn and be able to build this thing you're building your identity on, have a stronger foundation and understand more. And in turn, they kind of lash out. That'd be my guess.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. It's a lot easier to just inherently get defensive than say, I don't know, let me get back to you. And that's one thing I also like some people, if he takes some questions from the live chat sometimes and be like, oh, I don't know that off to my top of the head, but I'll, do look into it, and make a video out of it. So I respect that he's not just, trying to, I think you do more damage to someone, like, especially if you're trying to, preach the gospel and all that, you do more damage if you try to fill in the gaps without knowing what you're talking about than if you said, hey, I don't know, maybe we could both look into this. So I think that that comes a lot of the defensiveness is people just don't know, or taboo topics, and they just don't want, like, the church has said this is taboo, so we're not going to really talk about it. And some people are like, oh, you can't talk about that. So those are my two guesses.
The taboo topics things drive me nuts. There was a point where I was at church and the pastor was like, hey, we're talking about sex this week. It might have been the first time they talked about sex after he started. And he was like, I know that, like, that might be an uncomfortable thing for some of you to, think about us discussing at church. But here's a bunch of examples where it turns up in the Bible and Jesus talked about it. And we believe here that if Jesus talked about it, we should be talking about it at church. So that's what we're going to do.
Didn't you?
Heads up, same goes for money.
Didn't you one time, like, your dad was preaching and he's like, we're going to talk about sex, and you just, like, got up like, oh, I've heard this before.
Dude, it was the best. Like, so at this point, I'm thoroughly scarred to the point where it does not make me uncomfortable anymore. But there was a point where I sat down next to my sister, and I was no longer living at home, so church was entirely voluntary for me. She was still living under our parents' roof, so sitting through service was compulsory for her. And, like, I got there late during the grip and grin question, saw her, sat down, dad gets up there, opens his mouth, and I go, have fun. And I just got right back up and walked out of the room.
You want to let us know what your number 2 is, Mike?
Yeah, my number 2, clocking in at 1.7 million subscribers, is Ryan George. Most people who are familiar with Ryan George probably encountered him as the guy from Pitch Meeting on Screen Rant.
Okay.
And so, he's the super easy, barely an inconvenience. Wow. That guy. And I love me a good Pitch Meeting. I think they're really funny, but I think his personal channel is so much funnier and so much more creative, probably because he's not shoeholed into doing this essentially the exact same thing over and over like he is on Screen Rant. And so all of his videos kind of boil down to that format of he's playing multiple characters, and maybe one of them, they're dressed different, or one of them will have a fake mustache. He does a couple kind of nuts and bolts things. He has a series called The First Guy Ever 2. And so it'll be like, there are these modern people, like there's just houses and cars and stuff in the background, but they're also doing things for the first time as if humanity has just come to be. My personal favorite is The First Guy Ever to Get Drunk, where it's two neighbors talking to each other, and the guy's like, good news, man. I found my berries. The berries I lost like a couple of weeks ago, I found them and I ate them and they made me feel really good. And then he just goes through a bunch of drunk stereotypes. But he's also got a series. He's got The Time Traveling Reporter, where he plays a time traveling reporter who's been sent into what we consider the present. And he is reporting back to the 90s and trying to describe our modern day to somebody in the 90s, which is very amusing. And then he has this fake company that he has created that is in charge of naming things. And so it'll just be the story of how different things got their names. And as I'm explaining them, they sound less and less funny with each concurrent video I'm describing, but they are so clever. And I'd say 9 out of every 10 videos are absolute bangers. They're all 5 minutes or less. He's been doing this long enough. He was basically doing YouTube Shorts before YouTube Shorts was even a format, or before TikTok got big. And so he's got like 14-second videos if you go back to oldest. And they're hilarious. Like there's one, we now return to AMC's The Walking Ted. And, it's the two guys, and one's like, hey, Ted, what's up? And he's like, I'm going to the grocery store. And, the first guy goes, you going to drive? And then there's a long, dramatic pause, and Ted goes, no. And that's the whole thing. And, like, it's just like stupid, clever comedy. And it's just great. I look him up. You can watch 4 or 5 videos and have barely invested any time in it. You'll know very quickly whether or not he's for you. But trust me, he's for me, and 1.7 million other people also are into him. So give him a shot. I'll appeal to majority and try and get you interested. But funny guy.
He's been in my radar for a super long time, but I could not tell you which videos I enjoy. But I do know of him.
I've only really seen him in the pitch meetings.
Yeah, the pitch meetings are great, but like I said, it's just you're doing the same thing, and it's really just what the movie gives you some room for creativity. Whereas, he gets to really kind of flex his comedic muscles doing his own thing.
Lou, what's your number 2?
My number 2 with 7.5 million subscribers and 842 videos, Video Game Donkey.
Nice.
Is it Donkey or Donkey? Because I've heard people say Donkey.
What did I know
say? Andrew says Donkey. I've heard you call him Donkey. But
well, to be fair, I thought this guy came from a Latin descent. It wasn't until Andrew was like, yep. So apparently,
I'm sorry,
it's one of my favorite No, it's okay. It's one of my favorite YouTubers, and I can't even pronounce. I don't even know his ethnicity. I can't even pronounce his name right.
Why do you have to know his ethnicity?
Because he lied in one of his videos and said that he was, he was Mexican, and then I was looking through the comments, and they also was like, yeah, this guy's Mexican as hell. But I should have known because everybody is so. Yeah, I should have known. I should have done more research. I don't even know what I'm going to say. What do I say next?
It was just I was curious.
You could honestly, even if you want to jump back to you can jump to the start, or you can try and recover whatever feels right to you.
Yeah, you know what? If you could keep it in, podcasting is all about making mistakes.
I agree.
So
learning from
yes, his name is Jason. His name is Jason Yevgenly Gastro. Does not sound like a Mexican name. I'm not here to be biased.
You're not pronouncing it right.
I'm just not pronouncing it right. But I'm not going to pretend like it is. I'm not going to make it a Latin flavor to it because I feel like that's culturally insensitive.
Oh, all right. So yeah, I will unprop my hand into the air and not do it either.
It's a good idea.
I'll do it.
That is a good idea. Somebody's got to be brave. Let somebody from Singapore try that.
There you go.
Shout out to them. I think this guy is the funniest guy on YouTube in the video game world. I think he's absolutely hilarious. He has super funny things. He's played every single popular game in the past 10 years. So he's probably played your favorite game. But the funniest thing about him is he always finds bugs in the games. And so even if a game is super polished and it's not like a Bethesda game, he's always falling through walls or falling through the floor, or he's glitching on an enemy. He's just so good at finding bugs. It's super hilarious to watch. I think, but the biggest thing, I think my favorite thing about him is I have a lot of love for video games and the video game community. And I think that there are people out there that are trying to just squeeze as much money out of the community as possible versus creating something that's beautiful and unique and nothing like EA games or or
Blizzard
or Blizzard or Ubisoft, gaming companies that started off so beautiful got money hungry and completely destroyed. Because I love the Assassin's Creed franchise. You know, I love a lot of these games. Probably in my top 100 favorite games or some of these companies, but yeah, you could tell his love for games, and he calls out BS super quickly. And I've noticed as I get older, I appreciate that more in people.
You appreciate the aggression?
I appreciate. Woo! I'm happy that I still have a job. Yeah, one of my favorite things. If you love video games and you've always loved video games like me, I think a perfect video for you is video game sound. He's so poetic in this, and it just shows another level of the amount of work that gaming developers do in making things sound beautiful, and something that I never really pictured. It's something that I never really thought of. And yeah, he's a big Mario fan, which I'm not really a big fan of, but it makes me want to be a fan because he's such a big Mario fan.
I like Mario.
He's publishing his own video games now, so he has his own publishing company called Big Mode, and whatever he publishes I'm gonna buy just because I just support him. And he just had a kid. My favorite thing is, like, I love stalking people. You know, I'll say it on the podcast.
Clip it.
I'll say it on the podcast. I'm not afraid. If you have a Facebook and it's public, best believe I've looked at it if I know you.
No, the whole world.
Yeah, for sure. There was like a weird documentary of him that I watched on YouTube, and he struggled with a lot of like online bullying, and he's just found a voice, and I am all for it. Another like funny thing is that when Kanye West came out with that album, he played it all, but it was all fake sounds.
Orange Tesla, baby.
He just has a humor that I think is just needed in the world, and I think he's just made the world a little bit better because of his YouTube channel. So that's my number 2.
All right, so this one, my number 2, I was kind of worried that Lucian would have it because he's also in the Cooking Tube game, and this is oh gosh, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Joshua, what is it, Weissman?
Weissman, yeah.
Yeah. He has 8.9 million subs.
Long hair, glasses.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lou.
No, I'm just playing. I don't actually have it.
Yeah, long curly hair, glasses.
Calls himself Papa.
Yep, he calls it Papa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a solid gem. I like him.
He is. He just makes I like his humor. He's kind of at times can be unhinged, and he does have a little more of the raunchy side humor. But he makes a lot of cool videos. He does like insert restaurant but better. So he'll do like Popeye's chicken sandwich. I think is the most popular video when I looked at his channel, but better. And he just tells you how to make the Popeye's chicken sandwich and all that. And this man makes everything from scratch. He doesn't buy any buns. He makes his own, which I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. But it's just good. Like, he's a good well of knowledge, just the draw from. And probably one of my favorite videos that I've learned a lot from was his 100 food hacks I learned in a restaurant. One of the things I used just yesterday is, do you guys know how like Taco Bell gets their ground beef so like fine and small? You take like a potato masher, do that through the ground beef. I did not know that. So now I have some nice, very fine looking ground beef whenever I make tacos. And it's just stuff like that. And he has like the way he cuts like peppers. I know my wife follows that and all that. And he's funny, very insightful. If you want to know how to make a restaurant food, he's probably done it.
You can actually we just recently upped our game and got an actual meat masher where it's a kitchen tool specifically designed for.
Yeah. Like a tenderizer or a specific it's used for?
No, it's like it's specific. Instead of using your potato masher, it's made for mashing ground beef.
Mm-hmm. Is it like twirly? Do you like move it? I don't really explain it.
So it's like a handle like you'd have on a potato masher, and then it's almost like you have two really hard spatulas on a 90-degree angle, like down the middle. So it's just 4 right angles at the end.
You don't have to draw a diagram.
Ooh, baby, check out those right angles. I'll send you a picture.
All right,
but
Bob.
Yeah.
Well, was that a Bob reference?
Of course it was a Bob reference.
Yeah. Also, I have mad respect. So he was getting married, and he's flying out, and so he made a video specifically so he could like write it off as a what's the word? Like it's a business
tax
venture.
write-off?
It's like a business venture.
Business
so he's like
expense,
rating first class foods. So he's able to write off his plane ticket and all that as a business expense because he made a video about like rating all this first class food. And I have mad respect for that.
Because of the money.
Yeah, it's just like it's such a smart
man
idea.
Money man Rob.
Head around.
Mike, why don't you bring us on home with your number one?
There are some prerequisites for this channel. Are you guys familiar with Rick Beato?
No.
No.
Maybe I saw a picture.
Rick Beato is he's an older gentleman, one of the big music channels on YouTube. And one of his biggest series is called What Makes This Song Great, where he will break down what makes great songs great. And he'll kind of he talks a lot of music theory. And he does nothing for me, to be totally honest with you. I'm not crazy about Beato.
I just looked up a picture of him. He looks like he wants to sell me a used car.
I was getting like amateur magician from him. If we're
Magician or musician?
The combination, both.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say I could buy either because I know he is a talented musician. Anyway,
Yeah,
my number one with 186,000 views is Pat Finnerty and his series, What Makes This Song Stink? Wherein he takes bad songs and breaks down exactly why the song is bad. And he talks a little bit of music theory, but he talks it in such a casual way that I'm pretty sure you don't need to understand music's theory to be able to follow. And then a ton of, but it's so dry and comedic. There are points where it's almost like, in Family Guy, when they'll just have somebody say something. It's fair. I'm not a big Family Guy fan either, but they'll say something and then they'll just cut out of the scene.
Yeah, cut away.
He does those in real life for his music videos. Or not his music, his videos about songs. And so they started off 20, 25-minute videos for the first couple songs. And then they jumped up into the 40s, and I love them. There's only like 8 of them, but they are really, really well produced, really funny, and they're just these epic adventures. And they're almost Bo Burnham light. They're almost Inside-esque in the way that like we have one topic, but we're gonna jump through all these other little things on the way that still kind of all point to this one big idea. Very similar in structure. Very different in comedy, but really funny guy. Whenever he starts talking slightly more heavily in music theory, we'll be like, yeah, this song, it's just basic. It's just the 1-4-6-5 Beato. And like whenever he starts talking music theory, he just says Beato, kind of like you would say Kobe when you sink a shot.
Rest in peace.
And and indeed. And in his third episode, he's talking about Soul Sister. Hey, Soul Sister, excuse me. And he actually got enough people to come out that they staged a protest against the song in a park. And he wrote out this huge, like a whole piece of paper and got the entire crowd to read it in unison, wherein they all do a Beato. And it's so funny. And it's hard to describe, but yeah, he just tears apart all different types of music, and all of it is just obnoxious, overplayed radio stuff that really isn't that good.
Hey, don't hate on Train.
I don't have to.
I only know that one song.
Infinity hates on Train for me. Believe me, he can't stand Train. And I think the videos are worth watching in order. He also kind of mocks the entire YouTube process. Where in the first video, he's just sitting in kind of a barren room and he's like, no, I understand that you have no reason to listen to me. I don't have any gear in the back. If you look at any successful music channel, they got a bunch of gear in the back. And then he just it's just like a 10-second montage of him just loading up a bunch of amps behind himself. And he goes, there we go. Now I have credibility. And just like he does such a great job doing things that have the same purpose as being like, hey, don't forget to like and subscribe, but in a way that's just mocking the whole process as well. And I'm a really big fan of people who are like, no, look, I am trying to do this. I'm trying to make a YouTube career, but we also all kind of hate those things we all have to do if we're trying to make a YouTube career. And so it's really fun to watch him poke fun at that, poke fun at himself, poke fun at these songs, and just. Yeah, if you're interested, you want to check out one episode, check out Emo Girl, the Machine Gun Kelly song. Because of that one episode, an insane movement on YouTube happened that I don't want to get into because it was an intentionally hey, if you know kind of thing. But you can go watch the video and then you can know for yourself. But if you really are like, this sounds kind of cool, they're worth watching in order because they build on each other and you start having jokes from previous episodes coming back and reoccurring characters. So they're worth watching in order. But if you're just going to pick one, check out Emo Girl.
Do you guys remember, maybe my last year at camp as a camper, not including the college thing. But at the end of each week, they would do a talent show, and one of the last times there, I think it was a duo, got up to sing "Soul Sister," and I don't know if it was nerves or something, but the guy's voice just like was not holding out and was fluctuating, and it was so nice to see like the whole crowd just like start singing it with him and everything. So it kind of saved the whole thing, so we weren't just all awkwardly watching this person like get stage fright or whatever. Because I'm sure he could sing. If you sign up for a talent show, I'm sure you at least have some singing capabilities, and maybe it was just the nerves or something. But it's a wholesome time right there. Lou, what's your number one? What are you cooking with for number one? Lou.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose him?
Lou, what are you cooking for your number one?
My number one. All right, my number one is very special to me, but my computer crashed. All my notes are gone, so I'm going to have to remember this all by myself. 10.2 million subscribers and 705 videos. Used to be Binging with Babish, now Babish Culinary Universe.
I thought it was Baking with Babish. Huh?
No, that one I feel like I know for sure. But
yeah, no, that was me messed up.
Okay, good stuff. Yep, it's my number one. I dedicate my whole reason why I'm doing my current job, why I found my love and passion for cooking, is because of this guy right here. I think I would have found it maybe potentially in someplace else, but this is a YouTube video that started it all. I was at the time a really big Parks and Rec fan, and as I was looking up things, I saw this video called Binging with Babish Parks and Rec Burger Cook-Off. And so if you don't know, they do a simple burger cook-off, and one's a turkey burger with all the fixings, and another one is just a plain burger with
cheese. You can add some ketchup if you'd like.
And ketchup if you like. And that, I don't know why, but I've never seen somebody cook something that's off of a show that I love. And then it just, from there, 8 years ago, I've just really just fallen in love with this guy's journey. I think cooking for a lot of people can be intimidating. I think when you see, the Gordon Ramsays and all the big names, they do all these like fancy things, and they put these things that you don't know, and all these cooking, and cooking sometimes can be a little gatekeepy, in my opinion. And I think because he wasn't a chef and wasn't classically trained, it felt doable for some of his things, and yeah, super fun. I've just like video game Donkey. I've followed his life. I've seen him get engaged, and I've seen him break off the engagement.
Ooh.
I've seen him move from place to place. I've seen him talk about his shortcomings, and I've seen him grow as a company, and I just love this guy. I've just always been a fan, and I just always want him to do well, and it gets to the point where it feels like I just want him as a person to just find joy in things. And yeah, some of my favorite stuff is one of his like earlier things is called the Big Night of Tampinko. It's pretty much like a huge deep dish lasagna situation covered in bread or some sort of thing. It's insane. He spent hours and hours making it. Did a Krabby Patty. He did the tortilla chip sombrero from Despicable Me 2. If you know, you know kind of situation. Any type of food that you think of in a TV show that you wish you thought what it might taste like, he's pretty much done it.
Yeah, Mackenzie was super into his channel for a while.
So he has some really nice pipes.
Yeah, dude. Very, very
should get him to narrate my book.
For real.
How's his cookbook, Lou? I know you have his cookbook. Or at least
I do have his cookbook. I honestly haven't cooked a lot out of it, to be fair, if I had to be completely honest with you. But I pretty much just have it just to support him.
Mm-hmm. He's in New York, right?
Yep, he's in New York.
Yeah, I remember It was a couple years ago now, but he like did a tour of his new kitchen, and it was nice.
It's insane. Yeah. It's pretty cool. He's started off with just like I think he's moved like 4 times in the past 8 years, and every time it's just like an upgrade. Same thing with Joshua Wiseman. He's moved like I think maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
And just
he's in Texas now. He's a Texas boy.
Yeah. He's a Texas boy.
No income tax. I wonder if that's part of the reason.
Smart move. Texas is going to be its own country.
Right.
It might be more than just Texas, you know.
I feel like I had more to say, but
no, I think you did a good job.
That's good.
No, you nailed it, and you can blame Rob bringing up the impending Civil War as the reason you lost track.
Well, that was at the end.
I'm going to blame. I'm going to blame the fact that I built my own computer, and it's finally being like, hey, you fucked up somewhere, bud. You're going to have to fix this.
You got to get team player Drew over and see if he, he's not going to be a team player. Just be like, yeah, that looks broken. He's not gonna...
Yeah.
And he's going to walk home confidently.
Yep.
I was like, where are you getting this from? And I finally got it. Took a minute. I understand.
You got into like food theory, or is it just like the basics? I don't know how deep in the rabbit hole you've gone.
What do you mean by food theory? Because apparently, maybe not.
The Matt Pat channel.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
No, it's just like these flavor profiles should like work well with this. It's kind of like how music theory. But for foods, it's like flavor profiles and like mixing and matching. Like I don't really know how to describe it when that
salt and acid and umami and
yeah. So I mean, yes. So there's this. Sorry, I feel like once my notes delete, I get. Don't put that on the podcast. So this thing called my favorite is this cookbook by Solomon. I'm not even gonna try to say her name, but it's Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
It's on YouTube. It's not on YouTube. It's on Netflix, but she also has a book that I plan on buying at some point. And that really opened my eyes to I guess food theory. I just never knew it was called food theory. But yeah, just how things play together. I mean, think about it. The OG of food theory in my mind is that Ratatouille scene where that rat eats the cheese and then he eats the grape. It's going to be funny for some people, guys. But yeah.
Hey, anyone who's a serious stopper knows what you're talking about.
I guess I'm not a serious topper.
Dude, you were on the episode. He talked about Ratatouille. Like,
doesn't mean I know anything. I know he talked about Ratatouille. I don't know the movie very well.
I don't even remember talking about Ratatouille. So here we are.
You described the scene. I watched the movie once and didn't pay attention. And I feel like I've seen that scene.
I don't feel bad if Lou didn't remember it. So I'm good.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy how quickly you forget things you say in the podcast.
Oh my gosh. I don't remember anything I say in the podcast.
Yeah, Jacob texted me about something I said last episode or the episode before. And he was like, dude, that joke you made about this was great. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no memory.
He was like, this episode is 4 days old at this point. I was like, yeah, no clue. And then I listened to the episode and I was like, oh yeah, that was a funny joke.
I mean, one of the funny things that you do, Mike, is that you'll laugh at any joke. Anything that anybody put any effort into it.
I just love laughing,
that's
man.
not always true.
Yeah. Oh.
It's called good edits.
Any effort, man. Any effort that somebody puts in a joke, you are like, I feel like you laugh at the effort more than the joke itself if it's not very funny.
I just love the art of crafting a joke. And I also love when a joke bombs. Like, I might be laughing and it might not be at the joke. Like, if a joke, like someone says a joke and it's like, it's dead quiet for like 4 seconds, I think that's one of the funniest things ever. Yeah. So like, it'll be like, oh, it was a thinker and he got there. It's like, no, I'm just laughing at how hard it bombed. But I also am, I am a chuckle slut. Like, it is not too hard to get me to laugh. I like laughing, man.
Yeah, for sure. Better to laugh than not to laugh, huh?
Exactly.
A chuckle slut. I love it.
See, I've got this weird brain condition called stupidity.
Where's your laugh? Do you get rid of that? I don't see it on here.
Oh yeah, I can put it back up. We just only have 8, and we almost never use that one, so it seemed like the best one to cut. And I was like, I think that one will have some play.
Well, I was looking for it. Shout out to Drew for getting the last one of that in there. All right, for my number one, I think this guy does do Twitch, so my whole like, you know, YouTube only thing kind of falls apart, but I only watch his YouTube videos, is Small Ant, and he has 2.92 million subs. I know I know I sent Mike Small Ant stuff. Lou, have you ever heard of him?
I have not, but
It's
I
a
think
PokeTuber, right?
He's mostly a Nintendo tuber, so
Okay.
he does a lot of speed runs and crazy challenges. I watched this video, I think yesterday or the day before. I thought about sending it to you, Mike, but he beat Minecraft only using a mouse. Like he didn't have a keyboard, so all he had was the right, left click, and the scroll button. And it's just crazy, like how in depth he had to think to get stuff. So it started out with him like he had to get shot by arrows to move, and he had like, you know, place blocks around so he'd go in the right direction. And he just does like the most crazy challenges. He, like I said, he's a speedrunner. For one of his Mario things, like the Mario Odyssey, there's a point where with the game you can have two players, and the second player controls the hat, and he's like playing the game. He's like playing the Joy-Con with his feet, controlling the hat while he's playing with his hands Mario. And it's just some of the most insane things I've seen. He does crazy Pokemon challenges, and probably I don't know if I could pick one top one, but one of my favorites is a video called "How I Became the World's Fastest Pencil Sharpener." So, like I said, he's a speedrunner. And if you guys don't know what speedrunning is, that's basically you're trying to get through the game as fast as possible. There's this big website that has like the leaderboards and everything. And one of the challenges that he just found randomly, like how fast how many pencils can you sharpen in X amount of time? Or like how fast it takes to get to that. So he makes this huge, I think it's like a 30-minute video of how like he's just buying pencils and trying to figure out the best way to sharpen them with his hand. So it had to be like one of those twist ones, you know? So yeah, he's just doing that, and he's like trying to get as fast as possible until he finally gets the number one. I just think it's some of the coolest, craziest challenges out there. And they're usually pretty long videos, so I feel like I could just get I could get a good amount of time in that. And he's funny. He's a funny dude. Don't challenge him in a Minecraft speedrun, though. I've seen people try, and it usually ends poorly for them. Now, I do have a number 0, if we allow it this week.
What's that?
My number 0. If there's only 5 channels allowed, I'd put my own channel on there. Bam. Mr. X Fix It. Number 0. It's one of the 5. 20% of the viewership, in theory, if you just evenly distribute it, would be coming my way. I would probably get 0.00001% of it, but you know, that was my first thought.
Man Rob.
Could you imagine if our views were the exact same?
That would be wild. I'm sorry. I'm not talking about the top podcast. I'm talking about my personal channel.
Well,
you can find the top podcast on other platforms. I'll pitch it because you know I have the YouTube audience, but you know. Yeah, as soon as Mikey posed, I'm like, well, obviously I choose my own channel. Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Top Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please, as Mike says, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. You hate to hear it, but it does a lot to help us kind of spread our reach and grow the channel as it is. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a 5-star review and leave us a comment. You'll get some topper points if you do, and we'll read it off on the podcast. Other than that, we hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Pantaloni Fuego. Oh, I was waiting for you to shoot your shot too.
I had nothing. So.
Oh, okay. Let's go for Pantalones del Fuego. Chicos and chicas.
Hands of fire?